What's going on, guys? This is Raymond Iron by McKinney, and today I want to talk about our relationship with gravity and how it's not what it seems to be. And here's what I'm going to share with it. We'll share with you guys. And it starts out with a quote by a guy named Immanuel Kant, and he says that live your life as though every act were to become a universal law. In other words, people act and accept and saying this gravity as a it's set in stone, when really it's just relatively true. It's not absolutely true. And this being said, I think of our relationship to this physical gravity that seems to be holding us down. Something doesn't become an accepted law until it's tested over and over when collective consciousness assumes it as relative truth. Relatively true, yes. Gravity is relatively true to a to a portion of collective consciousness, but it's never an absolute truth. The only supreme absolute is collective consciousness itself. Whatever consciousness is aware of is what that becomes the physical experience. Gravity, from my perspective, is a collective assumption thinking that it's completely suspending us to the ground. We also think of gravity that it's burdening us and hold us down from our deepest desires. If gravity were absolutely true for all of us, then we won't be able to scale up mountains, especially steep ones. Speaking of mountains, Alex Honnold, free soloist mountain climber, is deeply in tune with it within his body and with the way he works with this gravity in order for him to scale up some of the most seemingly difficult and tallest mountains in the world with grace and flow. So he's in tune with his body. He doesn't become like allowing this external gravity to hold him down. He climbs mountains with flow and grace. Imagine himself just climbing mountains, focused with inward focus that he's light as a feather, or light on his feet and being able to climb with grace and flow. The Wright Brothers, who had brought flying vehicles into physical manifested existence, didn't see this gravity as holding them down. As one like myself who runs and goes deep into the intuitive mind, my relationship to these things called gravity, space, and time can become easily warped and bent in my favor without violating others' free will for how they perceive their relationship with these factors. So it's not like I'm sending out these thought beams out there. It's just like everything, not like anything like in the Inception or anything like that affecting others. But it's as if bending reality is as if no one else, when they're not conscious of what's going on behind the scenes, as if nothing's happened. And when you're deeply aware of this, subtle shifts are taking place. I've seen people who are relatively heavier than me who have run relatively faster because their relationship to this gravity doesn't weigh them down, but only their mindset would. You don't need to be this severely underweight person to run a relatively fast marathon race, or this overly strong, muscular person to lift relatively heavy weights. Everything is relative to our inner collective assumptions. We put these labels on things with our minds based on appearances and not on our deep intuitive desires. So appearances can be deceiving, whether they appear relatively big or small. It's how your mind perceives it. Your mind often perceives this gravity as this thing pulling you down, like I said before, when really nothing external is weighing you down, except for your inner, deeper assumptions. A feather can feel just as natural to pick up as a 50-pound dumbbell, but only if you perceive them both as relatively the same, regardless of the appearance and perceived weight. This universe is quite magical. Keep it simple. Do what deeply resonates with you. Nothing in this world holds you down unless you mentally accept it based on appearances. Since appearances can be deceiving anyway, no one is worse or better than you, because our perception of life is relative. Your mind says the most valuable and cherishable asset to utilize every moment of your life, right now. Think about it, guys. Think about what I just said. I'm not denying gravity. That's not like, oh, gravity's fake. You can look at it as like either you can defy gravity, or you could think of it as like your relationship with gravity is different. Like maybe you say, I don't know if you've heard of those mountain goats where they just like as if they glide up mountains, as if they defy gravity, or like things like the cartoon Looney Tunes when they're in the air, it's like they look down, it's like, oh wait, this gravity's supposed to pull me down, and then it's like they fall once they realize, oh, gravity is here, so I guess I must fall because gravity exists. Or think of those people who do dunks, when they play basketball. Professional basketball players, when they dunk, they don't feel the gravity's holding them down. They feel light on their feet. Gravity is relative, guys. Gravity is just relative. Everything is just relative in life, based on our inner, deeper assumptions. How we make life, based on our inner assumptions, manifest as our outward experiences. So, and again, I'm not trying to get delusional with like trying to get all weird with gravity or anything like that, but I'm just saying, metaphorically, mostly metaphorically and literally, that don't allow gravity to weigh you down. The only one that's weighing you down is yourself. Don't let the world of shadows, don't let the world of this external gravity weigh you down, because you give life to those external things. Power's within you guys. Time, space, gravity exist within you, within consciousness. And consciousness gives life to those external things. To the analytical reason in mind, it will be denied. When you live intuitively within yourself and through experience, realize that life is a very magical, simple way. You don't need to make it complicated. You don't need to figure out the hows, whens, or wheres. You don't need to figure out any of these things. You don't need to force external things to happen. You don't need to force outcomes to happen. Things will happen at their own time, at their own. They'll happen. We deeply desire them and claim them into being, call them into being. When you really deeply, depending on how naturally it feels to you deep inside, when you call something to being, when you deeply desire it, it's already yours. Desires is seeking expression from within and being projected outward in the physical experience of this life, shared experience. Don't let anything weigh you down, guys. Life is yours. So I hope this video helps, and I bless you all, and happy manifesting.